In this lecture, we are going to talk about multidimensional arrays. So in Java, you can declare an array of arrays. It is called multidimensional arrays. That means that the components of a multidimensional array are also arrays. So for example, a two-dimensional array is basically a matrix. In order to access the items of a two-dimensional array, we have to define two indices, the row index and the column index. So this is how we can create a two-dimensional array. In this case, we create 3 rows, as you can see, and 4 columns. And as you can see, the indices starts with 0. So row index 0, row index 1, row index 2, and the second index is for the column index. So column index 0, column index 1, column index 2, and column index 3. We can create a 3-dimensional array. Here, we declare a 3-dimensional array of size 2 levels with 3 rows and 4 columns. You can think of this array as a cube basically. Each item requires 3 indices to access, for example 0, 1, and 3. So as you can see, a 3-dimensional array is basically a 3-dimensional structure. 2 means that it has 2 levels, 3 means that it has 3 rows, and 4 means that it has 4 columns again. And as you can see, it has something to do with dimensions. A simple 1-dimensional array is a 1-dimensional structure. A 2-dimensional array is a 2-dimensional structure. A 3-dimensional array is a 3-dimensional structure. Arrays beyond 2 dimensions are rarely used, so that's why we will focus on 2-dimensional arrays instead of 3, 4, and more dimensional arrays. Anyway, with the knowledge of the 2-dimensional arrays, you will succeed with more than 2-dimensional arrays too. Let's see an example of a 2-dimensional array. So this is how we can create a 2-dimensional array with 3 rows and 4 columns. Notice that the initial base value of the items are zeros, which means that we can create a 2-dimensional array without initialization. The initial values are going to be zeros. Okay, so the first index represents the rows, the second index represents the columns. We can initialize the array with some data. This is called assignment initialization. The indices are the square brackets. So in this case, the first item, so first row, first column has the value 4. The first row and second column has the value 2. What's crucial that indices starts with 0 as usual with arrays. We can create and initialize an array like this. The first row will contain the values 4, 2, 3, and 12. So 4, 2, 3, and 12 as you can see. The second row will contain the values 5, 7, 6, and 9. And the third row will contain the values 11, 8, 1, and 10. So this is how we can initialize a 2-dimensional array. Okay, so the first block is going to be the first row, the second block is going to be the second row, the third block is going to be the third row of the 2-dimensional array or the matrix. We can create a so-called irregular 2-dimensional array, also called jagged array, which is a multidimensional array where members arrays have different sizes. For example, we can create a 2-dimensional array where the first array contains 4 items, but the second array contains only 2 items. So this is how we can create something like this. As you can see, the first row contains 4 items, 4, 2, 3, and 12. The second row contains 2 items, 5 and 7. The third row contains 3 items, 11, 8, and 1. Again, we have the row indices and the column indices as usual. What's crucial is that if you try to access a non-existing index, you will get an error message. So if we want to access index 1 as far as rows are concerned and index 3 as far as columns are concerned, as you can see, this is the item we would like to access, but it is an empty slot, so this is why we will get an array index out of bound exception. So we have to make sure that we accessing valid items as far as irregular 2-dimensional arrays are concerned. We are going to talk about concrete examples in the next lecture. Thanks for watching.